All right. Think we're all set. Welcome to the Evergreen Reportable Events and Progress Note Enhancements webinar. For those of you who haven't met me yet, and I'm suspecting that most of you have, my name is Lesley and I joined the Office of Aging and Disability Services in February of 2016 as the Information Services Manager. My primary role within the office is oversight and management of our electronic data systems, and that includes EIS and futuristically our Evergreen data system. Joining me on the presentation today is Walter Goodlett. He's an Evergreen project contractor, and he's our organizational change management and communications subject matter expert. And we also have Nancy Kitchin. She's one of the ODE's data and compliance specialists, and she's been very heavily involved in the Evergreen project as a participant and helping us out with requirements and testing and futuristically the training. Next slide, please, Miranda. Over the next hour, I plan to share a little bit of project background, the enhanced features of the Evergreen reportable event form and progress notes, some next steps, details for how you can stay engaged and get some additional support, and then we'll wrap up by answering questions. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. All participants have been added in the listener mode, therefore your line is muted and you cannot unmute it, and you also cannot use the chat. However, we do want you to be able to ask questions, so please click on the Q&A icon in your menu at the bottom of your Zoom window and click on that little Q&A icon and add your questions throughout the presentation. And when we get to the end, I will answer as many as I can live on the call. And then anything that I cannot answer live, we will be sure to respond to with our frequently asked questions that will be posted on our website. Next slide, please, Miranda. So the purpose of the Evergreen Data System project, if you aren't already aware, is to implement a single electronic system to replace the office's three major legacy data systems, EIS, MAPSIS, and MeCare. The project is being completed in a phased approach. This is the first phase, and it did include 3 production releases. Our first release was back in May of 2019. It was a small pilot release. Our second release was in June of 2020, and it was a larger release, and it was for our adult protective services and guardianship conservatorship programs. And our third release is the upcoming release that's planned for our developmental disabilities and neurobehavioral programs, and that is planned for January 16th, 2024. The primary goal of the project is to enhance the quality of services for our constituents. Some of the benefits that we will receive or see are automation of some of our current paper and manual processes, some reduction in redundant data entry, streamlining of some of our current forms and workflows and processes, and improved data and reporting. Next slide, please, Miranda. So today we're going to cover reportable events form and progress notes, and both the reportable event form and the progress notes have been enhanced for more standardized and consistent data capture. And specific to the reportable event, it's been enhanced to more closely align with the CMS critical incident reporting requirements and to make it easier to identify trends in reporting. Please note that throughout the presentation, I will be providing a high-level overview, and I may not point out every feature or field that you see on the slides. However, there will be plenty of time for you to explore the system between now and January. And also wanted to remind everybody that access to the Evergreen person records and forms is role-based. So depending on your role, you may or may not have access to everything that you see on these webinars. For example, a case manager or care coordinator will only see the person records that they are explicitly assigned to, and all of the person's forms, where external providers will only see the persons that have a location assignment to a location within their organization and only be able to access forms that their role allows them to access and that have been created by a user within their organization. The reportable event form itself can be found by navigating to a person record, and that can be done a variety of ways, typically through search or a caseload list if you have an explicit relationship. There are also other ways to navigate to a particular form, including the reportable event form. You can also go through queries or potentially notifications if your role has queries or notifications. Once you have navigated to the person record, you would click on the Forms and Plans icon in the primary navigation on the left-hand menu on the left side of the screen. So I've circled Forms and Plans icon. It appears to be white because when I took this screenshot, I had already been clicked into it. And once you click that icon, you'll see the screen that's in the center of this screenshot. You'll see the page that's in the center of the screenshot. This is the All Forms list page. This contains a list of all of the forms that have been created or migrated for this person. And you can sort or search from this screen to locate a particular reportable event. Or you can click on the filter menu, the hamburger upside down pyramid menu that's in the upper right-hand corner that I've circled in red. And that will drop down the menu that you see below it that will allow you to go to a custom forms list page. And so you can click on reportable events, and that will bring you to that custom list page. Next slide, please, Miranda. The custom list page for reportable events looks similar to the all forms list page. However, this page has an addition, it's only going to display reportable events, and it includes an additional column of data. So I've circled that column in red, and that is the incident categories. So if you particularly wanted to be able to see that before while you were searching for the reportable event that you wanted to click into, you'd want to go to this custom list page to get that additional piece of data. Please note that if you navigate from a query, which is an outstanding work list or work action list, or a notification, which is similar to a tickler in EIS, then the system would bypass both of these list pages that I just showed you and take you directly into the reportable event form that was selected or identified. If your role includes the ability to create reportable events, you can do so from either of the list pages by clicking on the plus new form button that's in the upper left of the content area. Next slide, please, Miranda. Upon creation of the form, so after you click that plus new form button, you would be presented with the reportable event tab of the reportable event form, which has a status of in progress, which is top left that I circled there. You can see that it says status is in progress, and that's because we just created this form and we have not filled it out and submitted it yet or completed it yet. And then you'll see all sections of the form that are defaulted to collapsed. And you can either use the expand all button, which is up at the top of this content area, circled to the right of the status, to expand all of the sections at the same time. Or you can use the caret icon to the left of the each header. So I've circled one of the little caret icons to the left of overview here in red. And you can expand each section and collapse each section manually by using that icon. And as with any form in Evergreen, you can click the little toggle icon, which I've circled in the upper right-hand corner of the content area, and that will open up your quick scroll menu. So you can either scroll throughout the page yourself, or you can use this little toggle icon and you'll see all of the sections of the form. You can simply click on one of those and then the system will take you right to that section without having to scroll. Next slide, please, Miranda. To edit or populate each section of the form, you'll need to expand and click on that section to get the edit modal to pop up. So this screenshot is showing you the first section of the form, which is the incidents section, which I've clicked in to edit, and it's popped up the modal for me. One of the new features of the reportable event form is the capture of the incident discovery date versus the incident date. So at the top of this screen, I've circled the incident discovery date, and then the incident start and end dates are in the middle of the screen. And then if the incident discovery date is more than 1 business day from the incident start date, you will be required to provide a reason for the delay of reporting, which is what I've circled at the bottom of the screenshot with the square with the rounded corners. The question says, why was the past incident just reported? And there is a set of common reasons that you can select from, but there is also an option of other in case the common reasons don't meet the response to that question for you. Incident dates have also been updated to include start time and end time. These are required fields, so if the times are unknown, then you should populate with the closest possible time and then click the "Is this approximate" checkbox, which is what I've circled in the middle of this screenshot here. And so if you have checked it, it will mean yes, this is an approximate time. Next slide, please, Miranda. The Evergreen reportable event form also includes a frequency of occurrence drop-down pick list with options of first occurrence, multiple occurrences, and continuing pattern. You should select the response that aligns with your understanding. So like if you believe this is the first occurrence of this, there may have been other occurrences reported by other people that you're unaware of, but if you believe this is the first occurrence, you should select that. If you are aware that there has been a previous occurrence, you should select multiple occurrences. And if you are aware that this is a continuing pattern, it's happening every day, it's being triggered by something recurringly, then you should select continuing pattern. Text and narrative fields include gray or ghost guiding text, as well as information icons. So I've circled a little tiny icon that I'm sure you cannot see in this screenshot, but it looks like a little light bulb. Oh, thank you, Miranda. It looks like a little light bulb, and this is what's referred to as an information icon. And this may appear to the right of a field label. And this contains the same content that is grayed out inside of the text box, that ghost or guiding text. And the reason that we've done that is because as soon as you start typing into your text field, your ghost text will disappear, and we wanted you to be able to access it while you're populating that particular field. Next slide, please, Miranda. The incident location drop-down field is a pick list. It includes several common options, such as hospital, residence, public setting, etc. There is also an option for other, which is what I selected here. If you choose other, you'll be presented with a conditional field, another field that has a label of other incident location. This is a text field, and this will be required in order to complete the form, and this is where you would type in the description of the other location. Evergreen also includes a question about whether the incident location is waiver funded or not. This is a yes or no question, so you'd simply just answer yes or no. Next slide, please, Miranda. Some other new fields which will be captured in the Evergreen reportable event form will include whether emergency services were involved, and if yes, which types. So in this screenshot, I have said yes, and you can see that the options are ambulance, rescue paramedics, fire department, crisis team, warden service, search and rescue. And so I've selected crisis team. In addition to emergency services, we will also capture whether law enforcement was present. If yes, then you'll be required to answer the question of why law enforcement was present. There is a set of standard responses here. I've selected planned strategy, unplanned crisis intervention. There's also an option of none of the above if none of the standard responses apply. Next slide, please, Miranda. We will also capture whether an incident resulted in an emergency room visit. This is a simple yes or no question. And whether there is any suspected abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Also a simple yes or no question. Please note that a yes response to suspected A&E does not exempt the reporter from their mandated reporting responsibilities under the Adult Protective Services Act, and therefore a call should still be made to the APS hotline. And this message will also be displayed in yellow as shown here on the screenshot as a reminder for the user, and it provides them the 1-800 hotline number in that statement. In order to complete the reportable event, the data enterer will need to check the attestation box indicating their understanding that a 30-day provider follow-up and internal review must be completed, and that they will notify the responsible party. If they are not the responsible party themselves, they'll need to select who that responsible party is from the options available, and then they'll need to reach out to that party and let them know that they need to populate the provider follow-up within 30 days. Next slide, please, Miranda. Evergreen offers an additional field type which EIS does not currently have. This is called a dual list. You will see this field type in multiple forms in Evergreen, including the reportable event form. In the reportable event form, it's used for selecting your reportable event categories. Dual lists have two boxes. The box on the left includes your available options that you can select from, and the box on the right includes the items that you have selected. You can use the check boxes in front of each of the items to select that, and then use the arrows that I've circled in the middle to move the selected item from one box to the other. In this example, I selected the emergency department visit and law enforcement intervention categories. If I wanted to, if I had not intended to move in emergency department to my selected, I could check that little box in front of emergency department and then use the left facing arrow to move it back into the available list before I hit save. Next slide, please, Miranda. Because my categories required supplemental questions, custom questions, I now see in my quick scroll menu two new submenu items, which I've circled in red here, for emergency department visit and law enforcement intervention. This is because the incident category types section has now populated and displays at the bottom of my reportable event form so that I can fill out those custom questions. These custom questions were previously or are currently located in the reportable event show menu, but in Evergreen, you won't need to go searching for them. You'll just scroll to the bottom or quick scroll to the bottom of the form and populate the questions there. Also, you can see, and I've circled at the top of the screen here, that my completion requirement symbol is still showing as an orange dotted circle, even though I had filled out all of the other sections of the form. And that is because I have these custom questions now that I need to respond to. And the custom questions have a little orange exclamation mark inside of a circle, which indicates that I need to populate those answers in order to complete my form. Next slide, please, Miranda. Some more new field types and features that Evergreen offers are, for some forms, are multi-add lists and the ability to select or display content from other areas of the system, including the person contacts and or the assigned staff. So for the witness and protection section of the reportable event form, it uses both of these. The multi-add list appears as a green action button. It's a little bit grayed out in the screenshot because I had already clicked it when I took the screenshot. but it appears as a green button that says plus add witness / participant. And when you click this, it will bring up a field set or set of fields that need to be completed, or required and optional fields to be completed to add a witness or a participant. And once you complete the first set of fields and save that entry, then you can click that button again and it will give you another set of fields that you can populate, and you can do that as many times as you need to document as many witnesses and or participants as needed. The other cool feature that's used to reduce redundant data capture in this form is the ability to select and display witness or participant data from the person's contacts and or assigned staff by indicating the relationship of contact or staff. The other relationship types here would be like if you select person, it will draw on the person's name. If you select another individual receiving services, it will offer you an option to type in that person's information, or select reporter. It will pull in yourself. Next slide, please, Miranda. In this example, I selected contact, and my person is Lesley Test. And so I selected Lesley Test's mother from her person contacts. And then the system auto-populated her name, which is Mother Test, her relationship, which is mother, biological, and her role, which is private guardian full. Next slide, please, Miranda. Once all of the required fields have been populated, you will be able to select the status of submit from the status field. In order to do so, your completion requirements will indicate, or should look like this example here. It should have green check marks icon instead of the orange dotted circle. After submission, which I had already submitted when I took this screenshot, the status will change to completed, which you can see here. It shows completed. And it will append any comments that were added when submitting the form. So when I submitted the form, I added a comment of 10/20/23 and my initials, and that displays here as well for you. And it will also show a new status in the dropdown of confirm for the assigned case manager and or care coordinator. This status will be used to acknowledge receipt and review of the reportable event. So just like EIS, the assigned case manager or care coordinator, crisis staff, and now quality assurance staff will receive a notification, or currently a tickler, known as a tickler, for each reportable event that's submitted. The assigned case manager or care coordinator and their supervisors will begin to receive a daily notification 1 business day from the completion of any reportable event which has not been updated to reflect confirm. So if a case manager or care coordinator has not come into the reportable event, reviewed it, and clicked this confirm button within 24 hours, then they'll start receiving a notification along with their supervisor letting them know that they need to confirm that. Next slide, please, Miranda. Another way for case managers or care coordinators to make sure that they've reviewed and confirmed all of their submitted reportable events for the persons they serve is to navigate to queries from the top persistent navigation, and then select the reportable event pending acknowledgement query. This query can be run without any filter criteria to get a comprehensive list of all of the reportable events that still need to be confirmed. Or you can filter down by adding a first name, a last name, or a date range, and then you'll get a narrowed set of results. In this screenshot, I put in a date range, and I have just one record that was a reportable event that still hadn't been confirmed within that date range, and it's for a person named Ruby East. To navigate to the record to review it and add the confirmed status, you simply just need to click on the row of the record that you would like to navigate to. And then once you do that, the system will drop you right into that reportable event record, and you can confirm. Next slide, please, Miranda. Reportable events, the 30-day provider follow-ups for reportable events can be submitted at the same time as the reportable event or anytime after the reportable event has been completed. The follow-up form is located on a separate tab within the reportable event form itself. When you first click on the tab, it will look exactly like this screen, where it will have a message in the middle indicating that there's no provider follow-up record existing, and it'll have a button for you to add the provider follow-up. Next slide, please, Miranda. Upon adding the provider follow-up, the form will be displayed just like the reportable event form was. It will be in a status of in progress. The completion requirements will indicate that they're not met with the orange dotted circle, and that's again because we haven't populated any data yet. And all of the sections will be defaulted to collapsed. And just like with the reportable event form or other forms, you can use the expand all icon and it will expand all the sections, or you can use that little caret icon to the left of each of the headers to expand and collapse them manually. The provider follow-up form also has the toggle icon in the upper right-hand side of the content, which can be clicked to display the quick scroll menu of all the sections. And the sections for the provider follow-up form are follow-up details, internal review details, remediation action steps, future remediation action steps, and comments. Please note that I'm not going to go over the provider follow-up form with you today. However, a full training on reportable events, provider follow-up, and death and mortality review forms will be covered during training in December. Next slide, please, Miranda. Just like forms and plans, progress notes can be found by navigating to a person record through search or through your caseload list if you have an explicit relationship, and then clicking on the progress notes icon in the primary navigation on the left-hand side. It will appear white, and it is in the screenshot when you've clicked on it, and then it will display for you the all progress notes list page, which is what's being displayed in the central content area of this screenshot. This list, this all progress notes list page contains all of the progress notes for that person record. You can search from this screen to locate a particular progress note, or you can click on that little filter icon, the hamburger upside down pyramid looking icon in the upper right hand corner of the screen, and select a specific progress note list page. If your role includes the ability to add new progress notes, you will see the plus new progress note button in the upper left hand corner of the page content. Evergreen person progress note types include general notes, provider exploration and discovery notes, home support notes, crisis residential, and crisis contact notes. And other note types in the system that are not on this all progress note list page include guardianship, conservatorship, and adult protective services notes, which are captured within their respective forms within Evergreen. And please note, for privacy reasons, adult protective services notes are not viewable from these list pages at the person record level. They can only be viewed by authorized users from within the adult protective services report itself. The person progress notes list page is a custom list page, which includes the columns of note type, which I've circled in red there, title, create date, activity date, contact name, which in this screenshot, none are populated because none of these had an activity contact type of collateral contact. Contact type, which is where I would have selected collateral contact, but these ones have different types selected. The first 50 characters of the description, or approximately 50 characters of the description, I think it's 50 characters of the description. We'll definitely add that to our FAQ, the total number. And then the text wrap icon will be displayed if more than 20 characters is in the description. And that's because we didn't want the rows to become too large here. So you can click on the little caret icon to the far right to expand the drawer if you want to see the additional 30 characters, that 30-ish characters that might be being displayed here on this list page. The other columns of data are location and area. And so area means where it was captured in the system at the person level, or if it was captured in the guardianship conservatorship form, it would say GXCX. Next slide, please, Miranda. When you click the plus new progress note button, you will get a pop-up modal with the note stepper. Depending on the note type you are entering, you will have 2 or 3 steps to complete in this modal. Step 1 questions are the same for all of the 5-person progress note types. In this example, I've selected general note from the note type dropdown and added my title and activity date. Next slide, please, Miranda. I then used the editor to format my note description. Options include, but are not limited to, bold, italics, highlighting, bulleted list, tables, etc. Then I selected my contact type of virtual video meeting, and I provided the hours, minutes spent on this activity. The system then converted my time to units. In this example, I indicated 0 hours and 45 minutes, and the system is displaying 3 units. Next slide, please, Miranda. Upon saving, I am brought to step 2. This is the custom questions that are related to this specific note type. For general notes, those questions include whether this was a billable contact, yes or no, and a multi-select choice for activity type. In this example, I indicated that this was billable and that this was a home visit. Next slide, please, Miranda. Step 3 is a new set of 2 questions which will be asked if you've selected a contact type of virtual video meeting or in-person meeting. These questions are asked for certain note types, including the general note, and they're intended to help ensure the safety of the persons that we serve. The questions align with the Adult Protective Services Structured Decision-Making Safety Assessment questions, and you can select as many factors affecting vulnerability and/or as many factors affecting safety as you may have observed, or you can indicate none apply in either or both of those questions, depending on what you've observed during your meeting. Then when you save, you'll be navigated into the person note to capture any history and/or exploration and discovery that you may have obtained while working on this note. Please note that just like EIS, progress notes will be locked down 24 hours after creation, so you shouldn't start a note until you have time to complete it. Notes can only be edited or deleted by an ODES admin user after they have been locked down. Within the first 24 hours, they can be edited or deleted by the creator. The only exception to this rule of the note content not being editable after it's locked is that the end date of exploration and discovery content can be edited at any time by the creator, even after 24 hours. Next slide, please, Miranda. This screenshot is showing the Add Exploration and Discovery Multi-Add List modal, which is available in the 4th section of the note. So you can see on the right-hand side here, I have the note sections, which is the 3 steps from the stepper that you would have already completed: progress note, general note, and safety assessment. And then once you saved safety assessment, it would come in here and it would show you that 4th section, exploration and discovery. This content is added using the plus add exploration and discovery button, which is in that section, and it's a multi-add list, so you can add as many exploration and discovery items as you need to. And the content is added to help support the comprehensive assessment and person-centered planning process. Content is added under one of the 8 Charting the Life course domain categories and a subcategory within that domain. And content type can be either one or many of the following: strengths, barriers, goals, risks, what is important to or for the person, or what's working, not working for that person. History items can also be captured from within the progress note, and you would do that by using the history widget, which is in the upper left-hand corner of the content area, which I've also circled here. This way, you don't need to navigate away from the progress note to capture your history. For more details on history, please refer to our first webinar series recordings, the new features and benefits of the person record webinars. Next slide, please, Miranda. Case managers and care coordinators will have the ability to access the exploration and discovery report. It can be accessed through the reports icon, but it's more useful if accessed through the print widget icon that's in the person banner. It's kind of hidden. Yeah, thank you, Miranda. It's hidden a little bit behind the pop-up modal here, but that little print widget has an exploration and discovery print or report listed under it. This way, if you pull from there, it will give you just the exploration and discoveries for the particular person record that you're under. Whereas if you go to reports, it will give you all of them, and it may be more difficult to determine which ones go with which person record. Case manager, this data can be pulled using a specific date range, typically the most recent plan year. And you can also indicate whether you want to pull just from your own general notes, or if you want to also include provider exploration and discovery notes, or just provider exploration and discovery notes. And those provider exploration and discovery notes are entered by external providers. Their note looks just like the general note, but we created two separate note types so that we could keep the case manager notes private, access controlled. So next slide, please, Miranda. So once you've run the report, the results can be previewed within the system or exported to Excel. And then once exported to Excel, you can, slice and dice it, analyze that way, or you can use that report to copy content right out of it and paste it into your comprehensive assessment or person-centered plan as you're working through that process. Next slide, please, Miranda. So what's next? If you haven't already registered for the last informational webinar that we'll be offering on November 13th through the 15th, we certainly encourage you to do so. We'll be sharing a sneak peek at the streamlined person-centered planning and prior authorization process during that series. You can find links to register for that in the monthly emailed communication that was sent out on October 20th or on our project website. Please continue to read our emailed communications, which will be sent out after each webinar series. We will send one out next week. We also intend to send additional communications in December and January timeframe, reminding you of training and the upcoming deploy. And then you can continue to work on cleaning up your EIS data to ensure the most successful migration possible. And you can find details about the steps to do so in the emailed communication that went out on September 25th, which had a subject of update on Evergreen Release 3 rollout. That's also posted on our project website if you didn't receive the email. And we also want you to register for your role-based training topic or topics when the registration links are posted a little bit later this month, hopefully next week. Next slide, please. So ways that you can stay engaged or get additional support is by leveraging the volunteer network of change champions. They're helping us with the transition to Evergreen by working at the grassroots level. You can find more information about them and a list of who they are on our project website. Also, all project communications are being sent by email, so please make sure that your email address is correct in the EIS system. And if not, please notify our EIS user accounts team at eissupport.dhhs@maine.gov. If you have any questions or feedback, please reach out to us at our project email at evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov. For links to all of our project communications, recorded webinars, and very shortly here, the frequently asked questions from our first webinar series, and then futuristically the ones from this series, please visit our project website at maine.gov/dhhs/EIS/Evergreen. Next slide, please, Miranda. All right, So we've made it to the Q&A section of the presentation, and somehow faster than I did on the previous two. So we have more time for questions, which is great. So I will answer the questions that I can from the Q&A. If you have questions and you haven't typed them into the Q&A, please do so now. So question that we have from Lisa is, what technical support will end users have after go live on January 16th, 2024? This is a great question. So we're still trying to figure out all the details surrounding that, but there are certainly some known avenues of support, and there is a plan to have lots of support for you. One of the ways that you can receive support is through the Evergreen help desk. So our vendor offers help desk support during normal business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Their support phone line, email address will be sent out to you in some of the communications preceding deploy. And also, once you've logged into the system, you can access their contact information right through the help center part of the application. You can also, if you're in the system and you're having trouble with a certain part of the system, you can submit a feedback right from the page that you're on within the system, and that will automatically enter a ticket into our vendor FEI's ticketing support system. And then you can see the status of that ticket and get updates on that ticket right in Evergreen. You'll also have a standard email address, Evergreen email address, that you can send support emails to at any time. And that will be manned by my team and likely supported by some of the other ODE staff in responding to questions there. And in addition to that, we're going to make sure that we also have some open line of communication for a defined period of time for you, starting on day one, January 16th. So likely for at least a week or maybe 2 weeks, we'll have some sort of like maybe a Teams chat channel that you can send questions into. We'll probably also use our Change Champion network a little bit to gather questions and, from individuals within their organization or agency and submit those to us for a response. We'll continue to keep our frequently asked questions up to date on our project website. So more details around the specifics about what that will look like, how you'll access it, those will be sent out once we've nailed down all of the details in later in November, or probably the 1st of December is when we'll send out more information about that. Robin asks, does this replace the 18-step follow-up section reason for late? I'm not sure what the 18-step follow-up section is, but I surmise that that means the provider follow-up and the that would not meet that, unless there's something else I'm not aware of about what the 18-step follow-up is. So if you could provide some more information, or if somebody else on the call knows, I'm happy to try to respond better to that. Anita asks, can we get a printed copy of the form so that we can begin updating our internal forms to be ready for the transition in January? Great question, Anita. We are going to be updating the manuals and guides and plans and instructions that ODES maintains and makes available on our website. So we will be putting that out there. We are still in testing and making some bug fixes, and it may be a little bit tricky to get you a printout that gives you like all of the drop down field selections and that kind of thing. But we certainly can look to try to give some sort of a PDF printout of the form that at least shows you the top level field names at some point towards the end of November, early December. But you will also be able to access the sandbox training environment in December. So at least a full month before we go live, you'll have access to an environment where you can navigate around, create, add, test, fake reportable events, and you'll be able to see all of the fields, all of the drop downs, and you can at that time definitely use that information to update your systems. But we can certainly add to our list to try to find a way to do a printable version of that for you as well, sometime in early December. Francine asks, will this training be somewhere to view again? Yes, Francine, all of the webinars are being posted out on our project website. All the webinars from this series will be posted out there early next week, and you can play them back as many times as you want, and they will be up there in perpetuity. We will also do the same thing with training sessions. So once we get to the training portion of the project, all of the training sessions will be recorded, and those trainings will also be populated out on our project website for playback as many times as you want. And also, like, as new staff are hired and come on, then you'll be able to point them to those recorded trainings and get them up to speed quickly. And the link to our project website is right in the meeting chat. If you didn't grab that earlier, you can get that from the chat. Thank you, Miranda, for putting that out there. Troy asks, will we receive notice that a reportable event follow-up is due? Yes. Great question, Troy. There are several notifications. I didn't talk about all of them on the webinar here, but yes, there is a reminder that goes out when the provider follow-up is coming due, and when it's past due, it will tell you, hey, your provider follow-up still hasn't been entered, and then that way you can go in and make sure it gets done. Clint asks, what web browsers will be supported? Another great question. So we recommend the use of Chrome. That is what we've done most of our testing in, and that our vendor guarantees. Our vendor also indicates that Microsoft Edge is equally as successful as Chrome. They're same platform. We have not done thorough testing in other browsers besides Chrome and Edge. However, we have done a little bit of testing in previously in Internet Explorer, which is no longer a relevant browser, but also I think we did a little bit in Safari. Most web browsers should support the system, but we just can't guarantee anything other than Chrome or Edge, and we recommend Chrome. Nancy asks, will we continue to instruct users or staff to use the current reportable event form, or will there be a new version? Oh, great question, Nancy. So when we go into Evergreen, so currently continue to use the reportable event form that you're using in EIS, but when we go into Evergreen, it will be the new Evergreen reportable event form. The old reportable event form, the one that you're currently using in EIS, those forms will get migrated into the Evergreen version. So we've done mapping with our vendor of here's the historic reportable event form, and here are all the fields of it. And in Evergreen, this is where this is what that data is called. And so we've actually migrated those into the new Evergreen reportable event form. And if there's fields that are new in Evergreen that didn't exist in the EIS form, we just left those null or blank. So if there's like a historic form that you're looking at, it may have some empty fields like discovery date because that didn't exist, etc. And we are asking, and we'll send some emails out closer to deploy, but we are asking that people try to finalize reportable events, try not to have any that are in progress out there. We're not sure how successfully the in progress ones will migrate. So we do want you to try to wrap up and complete your progress notes before our deploy weekend. It's okay if you can't get to them. They will attempt to be migrated, but we're just worried that some of the fields might not migrate quite greatly. So we will remind you of that closer to deploy. Wendy asks, under the witness tab, was there an other option for neighbors, friends, or non-contact family members? Yeah, Wendy, there is definitely an option to add any type of witness or participant. So there are lots of different options. I don't know what they all are off the top of my head, but you certainly have the ability to type in somebody that doesn't exist, that's not a contact on the person's record. It's, you know, just somebody that was present during this event. So there's like some text fields where you can capture that. Robin asks, Robin says that I responded correctly to her question about the 18-step process. So thank you, Robin. And Robin also asks, is the guardian contact information separate now or within the notification witness other section? So on the person record itself, which we didn't cover on this webinar, and I'm not sure that I went into it very much on the first series, but you'll certainly hear more about it on your training in December. Under the person record itself, there is a section related to guardianship conservatorship. And if the person has a private guardian or conservator, then that information will be captured in the person record under their contact, and you'll indicate a role of guardian or conservator, private guardian or conservator. If they are a public ward and they have a public guardianship conservatorship representative assigned, then that will appear under the assignments section in their person record, and also will roll up to the person summary under their guardianship status, and also right in the person banner on the record if they are under guardianship. So if they have a private or a public, if one of those data points exist, it will display right in the person banner, which is persistent when you're inside of a person record, similar to EIS. It will display their guardianship status right up there for you, whether it's private or public. This reportable event, if the witness was a guardian, then, and if you've selected that public staff member or that private guardian, it will just draw that in and display that for you. Wendy asks, is there a distinction between law enforcement involvement versus presence? I am thinking at times the PD responds with rescue or medical emergencies. Great question, Wendy. I am not comfortable to answer that. I certainly would want to follow up with some of our other ODE staff on that question. So we will take that one down and we'll respond to that one with the frequently asked questions that we will post out after this series. Anita asks, do you anticipate Evergreen will be able to receive uploads directly from provider EHR systems? And if so, when might that be available? Fantastic question, Anita. So as you can imagine, this is quite a large project for us and quite an undertaking to get all of our current EIS functionality into Evergreen. And we needed to make some improvements to it as well. And so we did, when we started the project, we took down a list of all of the things that we knew that our end users were seeking, you know, new improved features and enhancements. And we prioritized those, and we determined which ones we would be going live with in January of 2024. Unfortunately, it does not include the EHR upload. However, that is on our list of known requests, and we are planning to integrate some sort of an EHR data exchange in the future. We don't have a date for when that will be available yet, but we certainly, after we get live in January, we'll start communicating out to our end users about the future enhancements to the system. We plan on, and we know of many enhancements that we would like to make for new features and functionality. And we also know that some of our programs are changing ongoing, and that we'll want to roll out some additional features for those. So we'll definitely be sharing more information about that after our deploy in January about the future enhancements, the roadmap, what's coming next. Jesse asks, if a case manager completes a reportable event, will they still need to confirm the receiving the notification within 24 hours? Great question, Jesse. Yeah, so if you are the data enterer, the reporter and the data enterer for the reportable event, and you're the case manager, you will still need to click that confirm status so that you don't start receiving the reminders that you need to do that. And it looks like that's all of the questions that I had in the chat so far. We do still have 4 minutes left. So if anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to enter those into the Q&A using your Q&A icon. Also, if you think of any questions after this series ends, you can always email us at the email address that's in the meeting chat, which is evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov, and questions that we receive at that email address we'll also add to our frequently asked questions that we're going to keep updating on our website. Thank you, Miranda, for popping that into the chat for me. And let's see, looks like I have another question. So Robin asks, I was asked that individuals were having difficulties signing up for the webinar today, and also that staff had difficulties loading the past video. Sorry to hear that people were having trouble signing up, Robin. If you want, if those individuals could email us at evergreen.dhhs@maine.gov with some additional details about what they were experiencing and why they were struggling to get registered, that would be great. We do have another session at noon today, so hopefully they can get registered for that one if they're available, or we can try to get them to review the playback as well. So I'm also, if they could send some details about what was happening when they were trying to play the video back, we can maybe help figure out what's going on there as well. Any other questions or concerns? Fabulous. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us bright and early this morning. We had a great group, 85 of you. We will post the recordings early next week, and please get signed up for our third series that will start on the 13th. We look forward to seeing you there. And happy Friday.